Hey guys, what's up? This is Awwyeeah and it's an honor to serve the king. Here we are today and I have a unique video for you guys. We're gonna do something we really haven't done before. We're going to look at Ironlights and matches from a statistical perspective. Our developer E. McNeil, he has provided us some insight regarding the statistics of what tends to go on in Ironlight matches online, and he provided us a chart that shows a breakdown of the class selections, just how popular classes are, their pick rates, their win rates, and across different spectrums. So we're gonna get into the math and mathematics. I know that's everyone's favorite thing, but hey, I mean it's kind of interesting when it comes to fighting. It gives you a greater perspective. So let's take a look at the chart that we have here. So as you can see, we have here a chart that shows matches on Ironlights that took place between March 1st and March 31st. And these matches are split between 3 different skill levels. You get high skill players, which are players that are above gold 1. Then you have medium skill players, which are players that are above bronze 3. And then you have your low skill players, which are below bronze 3. Overall, all the matches that are represented here are about 30,000 matches, ranked matches online. This is not counting casual matches. This is just counting those that are playing for actual trophies online. And so this is really interesting. So let's dive into this. Let's take a look at just what we're looking at here. As we can see on the left side with the win rates, the very first thing that really stands out, which is very surprising, is the class Ninja. So if you look at Ninja, the Ninja has the lowest win rate among any other class in Ironlights, and you can see that it also has the lowest pick rate amongst the high skilled players, which is really interesting. Ninja tends to be one of those classes that are really easy to play. People call it spam because you just flail your arms up and down, side to side, up and down, side to side, and you just do massive amounts of damage. And Ninja is not a bad class. At one point it was really overpowered, super overpowered. People complained that it was pretty much impossible to block Ninja's attacks, and it just deals an unsurmountable amount of damage. And so their damage was nerfed a little bit, and on top of that their refresh was pushed back. And I think Ninja right now seems to be in a more balanced place, because at least in my perspective, when I use Ninja, I still tend to obliterate classes like the Knight and the Samurai, but I guess what people are saying on Discord is that Ninja is a little bit on the underpowered side, which is surprising to me. It's very surprising to hear that. My thoughts on that is perhaps it is a little bit slightly underpowered, but Ninja is one of those classes, like, it's so, like, the slightest move in damage. Like, if you give Ninja 5 damage, it's going to be overpowered, and then if you take away the 5, it's going to be overpowered. So the balancing beam for Ninja is just really it's scary, because, like, what is the right feel? Like, how close to the line can you get, between overpowered and underpowered? Because with Ninja, it seems like the slightest breeze of a nerf or a buff, and it just gives it just multiplies it by 100. Basically, that's what it feels like. And so that's Ninja. So let's go on and look at what's above Ninja. So as we see here, right above Ninja, we have something quite interesting. I'm gonna focus more towards the high skill player rank, because that's pretty much where I play at and where everyone is aspiring to get to. But we'll touch on the low skill too. But here at the high skilled player rank, we see something interesting. We see both Monk and Crusader at the same win rate, amongst the high skilled players, and that's just the next tier up from Ninja. So you go from, like, the lowest and then the next lowest is both Monk and Ninja. And as you can see here on the other chart on the right side, the pick rate, so the pick rate for both Monk and Crusader are also amongst close to the lowest, about under 10%. So under 10% of the players are selecting Crusader and Monk as their class to play in ranked. Just to give you perspective, I didn't say it in the beginning, but it looks like the pick rate for Ninja is probably close to 4%, 4 or 5%. And so that's interesting. So you have Crusader and Monk looking at maybe 6 to 8% a pick rate, and the win rate is definitely under 50%. Probably is close to 40, 47, 48% looks like, maybe even lower, 46, 45. Definitely somewhere along that range. So in my personal experience, let's start with Crusader. Crusader is my favorite class. Make no mistakes about it. Crusader is my first love, and it's just, it feels great to me just the way the class is supposed to be played. But Crusader does have a few flaws that I guess most high-ranking players tend to stay away from. Crusader is meant to be a very defensive class, and offensively it has decent damage output, but it's nowhere near the level of the other classes. And I guess the downfall of Crusader in the eyes of most people, and in mine too, is that the Crusader shield tends to be whittled down really fast. Recently, I don't know if you guys know, but Crusader used to have no way of gaining back shield. Basically, if someone was attacking your shield, you only had the only option you had was to dodge or take hits directly to your body to save your shield. Since then, about a few months ago, I would say maybe 4 or 5 months ago, the developers gave Crusader class the ability to gain back a portion of your shield. I think it's maybe 10% of your shield or something like that. I don't know, maybe less, 8%. When you actually block with your flail, which is a skill-based regain. So if you were skilled enough to block attacks with your flail, you'll gain back a portion of your shield. So this was really meant to counter classes like Knight and Monk that would just target the shield and ignore dealing damage completely, just to 100% to zero your shield in one rush. And then the next subsequent rush, they would just obliterate your health because you had nothing to defend yourself with. And so this helped. It helped, but it seems it has not helped a lot, because it seems that even with flail blocking, there are some classes, for instance, monks that play one-handed, knights can still, samurai can still, ninja can still just whittle down their shield to nothing if they can angle their attacks right. And it really is a problem, because the shield isn't regenerating or with flail block at a rate that you can consistently protect yourself. And your shield, your defense, is supposed to be the strongest point of your class. It's supposed to be the one thing, like when people see you pull up, like, oh man, this is a super defensive class, I'm gonna have a hard time getting around the defense. But in reality, when people see Crusaders online, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to destroy their shield and get to their health in the second rush. And the flail block has helped, but it hasn't really addressed the core problem. And so let's go on to the next one. The next one is Monk. Monk is my second class. It's my second, we shall say. And Monk is really a really great class. Like, I don't know. Like, this has surprised me. Like, I guess most players, they like, at the high rank, they like power and everything, and they just, you know, if it's not overpowered, you know, they tend to stay away from it. They tend to pull towards the classes that are really strong. And Monk really is one of those classes that I find to be probably the most balanced class in Ironlights in terms of damage and defense. Monk seems to be the class that it's not overpowered. It doesn't deal too much damage. It doesn't deal too less damage, and defensively it has really good defensive, really balanced defensive capabilities as well. And it's like the model citizen. You know, it's like the person you want your children to grow up to be. It would be like the monk class, because like it's balanced around, and it's like how all the other classes should strive to be. And so I'm a little surprised to see it on the lower side of the win rate and the pick rates, but it makes sense in retrospect, because if you're gonna play ranked online, you want to play the super strongest class, you know, that you can. And just that, I'm not about that. Like, I'm about playing the classes that I really enjoy, and I really want to hone it. And I find playing sometimes the underdog classes a lot more, what should I say, a lot more refreshing, I guess is the word, or you know, a lot more rewarding, I would say, than playing a class that I know is like super overbalanced or super overtuned. And so Monk is one of those class. Some of the complaints that I've heard on Discord about Monk, surprisingly, is that the ranged attacks are too fast, that they're too fast, or there's no way to block arrow spamming. But if you look at the Monk class, to me, Monk class, just like every other class in Ironlights, is on a spectrum. And I believe the Monk class, more than any other class in Ironlights, leans more into its ranged damage than other classes. So in other words, you would rely on your ranged attacks more as a monk than, say, a knight. You're not going to utilize, you're not going to spend, 40% of your attack using range attacks as knight, because you're gonna waste your energy. It's not energy efficient. But as a monk, actually using your range attacks is very energy efficient, and I would say a good monk would be expected to use about 40% of their attack as range attacks, which is really high. You would see knight somewhere around maybe 8 to 10% ratio, duelist maybe closer to 10 to 15%, or maybe even 25%. But definitely monk, more than any other class in Ironlights, leans more into the ranged attack damage than the other classes. And I like that. It shows a differentiation between the other classes, and a different play style. You know, if you want to lean more into a class that has more a range-based attack style, play monk. You know, and it's just something that feels good to me. But that's just my personal opinion. I know there are people that have differing opinions than me, and that's fine. You know, you can agree to disagree, and that's cool. But let's look at the next class. The next class, which I'm really surprised. Like, this is like, how is this even possible? We see Samurai sort of at the middle of the pack in win rates at 50, close to 50%, if not on the border, or just slightly under 50%, with the also middle of the pack pick rate, with a pick rate of it's seemingly around 15% amongst the high skilled players. And Samurai is one of those classes which is actually super overpowered in the right hand. So you're gonna see really, you can see here by the graph, you can see at the low end, the low skilled players, Samurai is just at a very low win rate, right? Close to 41%, 42%. And then as the skill ratio, it actually, oh no, wow, this is even if you look at it, as you go towards your medium skill players, it actually decreases the win rate, and it stays flat on a curve. So the same pick rate amongst from low to medium players of a Samurai, but the skill, I guess, diminishes amongst the Samurai players, and then it just skyrockets to high, which Samurai is like, I always said this, playing Samurai is like playing chess. Like playing chess to me. It is just one of those classes where you really have to really think and maneuver your attacks, and just weave it in certain patterns and ways to get around defenses. But Samurai is one of those classes, like when you land a hit, you amputate that person. Like, you'll tap their head and you'll hit crit them for like 12k, not 12k, 1.2k damage. And it's just one of those things, like when you're up against a samurai player in a high skill, you know, like don't charge at all. Like if you charge, you're in trouble. If you charge energy against a samurai player, you're gonna get obliterated. Like that's one of my rules. Never charge your energy against a samurai player unless you know what you're doing, and you know that for sure you're going to 100% block their next attack. And so that's interesting. That's really interesting to see that samurai at the middle of the pack, when I've seen personally where I've gotten killed in just 4 attacks, like literally 4 strikes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm at 20% health. And it's just crazy, the potential of the class. So I guess amongst the high school players, when you actually figure out the class, it's super overpowered. And against the low players that swing it without knowing how the class really works, you really suffer. So that's really interesting to see that. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. So above the samurai, we see that we have the knight. Knight slightly above 50% win rate and pick rate. And knight feels like a really balanced class. Knight used to be super overpowered. It was a class that every patch, like literally every patch, had to be tuned, or something was broken, or someone found some way to break the class, you know, by swinging it really fast in a circle. You call it a decapitator, or either it was like the up and down or the side to side. Something was always broken with the knight until recently. And then we got the wobble feint, and then the feinting, and then it seems to be that knight is in a good place right now. I've heard people call for edge alignment for the class, that if you swing it along the path, in a straight path, that it is faster, and if you try and use a flat side of the blade, it's slower, which technically is a nerf buff. Is both a nerf and a buff at the same time, because you're rewarded for swinging it properly, and then if you don't swing it properly, you're actually your swing speed suffers, which I think is a fair balance adjustment for people to call for. And so there's not really much to say about knight. Its damage is still devastating, and it's certainly a very strong class, as you can see. It has slightly above average win rate, and the pick rate is leading towards the second highest pick, just right under the class sets, which we'll talk on in a little bit. And so not much to say about knight. So let's look at the next one. Slightly above knight in win rate is the Reaper, which is surprising because last month the Reaper was probably the lowest, or maybe the second lowest win rate. So it definitely skyrocketed up, and it did skyrocket, I think, according to my analysis and what other people have voiced on the Discord forum, is that Reaper received a defensive buff, or defensive regeneration buff, where their shield comes back at a faster rate. Which created a whole host of issues. A monk used to be able to take out a Reaper shield previously, but now a Reaper shield after a full monk strike, actually I would even go as far to say that you cannot 100% to zero a Reaper shield anymore. The lowest that you can get it with someone who knows how to block effectively is maybe 30%, 25 to 30%, the lowest you'll take it. And then the worst part isn't even that. The worst part is that the Reaper shield will be at close to 80% shield back before your second strike. So the shield comes back really fast. And so essentially a Reaper can just 100% block many classes attacks, like Monk, Duelist, or Crusader, with ease, without really breaking a Berserker as well, without breaking a Sweat. And so that's really interesting. That's really interesting, and it's created a lot of cry for nerfs on the Discord, and reasonably so, because its shield is functionally better than a Crusader shield. Like, Crusader is supposed to be the class that is the defensive class. Like, but you have a class which has a weapon that's near unblockable. You can't block it, it can get around defense, and then it has the best defense on top of that. And so that's nowhere, it shouldn't be that way. And I guess developers hopefully are looking into it. We have some class changes coming soon, and we're all very eager to see what's going to happen there. Hidden there right behind Reaper, we actually have, let's look at the class that is flying in the sky. It's flying in the sky, you know, eating pie. And it's been eating pie in the sky for a long time. This class has been the class that has been broken. I'm gonna say yes, has been broken for the longest of any class in Ironlights. It's just been so far ahead in win rates, it's so far ahead in pick rates. As you can see, this class is just crazy. This class is crazy, and it's the Duelist, man. The Duelist has the highest win rate amongst any other class in Ironlights, just because of the ease to use, and it's just so fast, and it can refresh just insanely fast and just strike you from different directions, and it carries a shield. Duelist is just one of those classes where on paper it should be one of the more balanced. It should be like Monk. It should be like Monk because it's a single blade and a single shield that's not as strong as Crusader shield, and its damage isn't as potent as, say, the Knight or the Samurai, but its speed and the ability to refresh and deal lots of damage really quickly definitely makes this damage very hard. On top of that, it tends to deal a lot of more damage than most classes hitting on vulnerability. You'll notice that the Duelist that hits you when you have vulnerable health will just obliterate your health really quickly. And so it's surprising to see that, at least on this chart here, you see that the Duelist class is, oh, actually, I guess I read this wrong. Actually, the Duelist class is tied with the Reaper. I guess I mixed in my colors, and Berserker is actually the most unbalanced class this win rate, which isn't surprising because there's no way to counter the broken state Berserker is right now. And Duelist is right there with Reaper, still eating pie in the sky. I guess it's come down a bit just because it technically isn't as broken as the other classes, but it's still definitely up there. It's never fallen below top tier. It's always going to be S tier, A or B tier until they well, not even B, until they do something about the way it functions right now. And a lot of people say it's in a good place compared to where it was before, and I agree. It definitely is not as strong as it was, thankfully, thanks to the damage nerf. Most people or some people on Discord are actually calling for Duelist to be buffed. The shield, not the damage, but the shield, because classes like Berserker and I would say not Monk, and Knight can just eat away at the shield really quickly, which is fair. Every class should be able to defend themselves reasonably, but Duelist is one of those classes where I know if you give it like a lollipop, it's gonna turn it into a machine gun. Like, you got to be really careful with the tuning when it comes to Duelist, because it's been consistently flying high in the sky in terms of win rate. It's been always the top, and it's the only reason that it's not the top now. I actually mixed up my colors. Is because Berserker is broken, and it's broken because it's unintentionally dealing damage with the shaft and the staff portion, and it's causing Duelists their win rates to seem like they're flying under the radar, but we know what's really going on. But it's fine. As you can see, amongst the highest players, it has the highest pick rate. It has the highest pick rate, is leaning towards 23% pick rate. amongst the classes, and so it's really something. So Duelist is one of those classes that needs the Reaper, reasonably so, and we all know this. And so Berserker conceptually is an awesome class, and it deals massive damage just like Knight, but it does have one downfall. It has not a bug, but it has an unintended consequence when it comes to attacking, and it's called shaft strikes. Basically, when you use your the staff portion of the hammer to deal damage on the rotation, you're basically going into 3 hits. So you have 2 hit points on the hammerhead, and then if you refresh fast enough, you can get a 3rd hit point using the staff, or the shaft, I guess. Yeah, the staff of the Berserker hammer to get hits. And sometimes even multiple hits in one strike. Sometimes if you aim it well enough, you can get 2 to 3 hits with the staff alone, just from its refreshing inside your opponent's body, which created a lot of balance problems on the rank, because a player that is using this technique will more than likely win the match. No matter how hard or how well you deal damage or defend, it's practically impossible to block both ends of the hammerhead and then block the shaft as well. So you're gonna get hit with something, and so because of that, Berserker always took the lead in damage done, and has such a massively high win rate. And so that's Berserker, and hopefully we see changes to that. A lot of the changes that people have called for regarding Berserker is that to take away the shaft hits on offense, but on defense you can leave it there to defend yourself from strikes, which is a really fair thing to ask for. And so that's Berserker in a nutshell. Yeah, we need to be careful with. But, you know, this is just my personal opinion. It's just my analysis of the classes. Just going forward in terms of this chart, this interesting data that E. McNeil, our developer, gives us interesting insight as to, you know, what it looks like on the statistical side as to just going up against the classes in rank. So it gives a good picture of what we are seeing online. So he uses this data as partly to make balancing adjustments, to make some informed decisions. He doesn't use it intrinsically, or he doesn't use it solely, but he also takes feedback from the players, and we really appreciate that we have a developer that really heeds the voices of the players, in addition to the behind the scenes statistics, and that he's transparent enough to share this with us. So we really appreciate that. So if you guys like this video, if you like the math, and you would like to see more videos like this in the future, definitely leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about some of the comments I left, and I hope to see you guys next time. Be sure to like and subscribe, and catch you guys online.